Welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. This week it started to feel like the seasons are changing. Like there's starting to be that transition between true spring and high summer. It's still definitely spring, there's still lots of flowers and insects and the winds are still quite high, but the bush is changing. It's starting to feel like summer is approaching. The grasses are starting to grow long. The black wattles are starting to bloom and they come in at very late spring and into summer. And it is just feeling that little bit warmer and like summer is just around the corner. I took a really lovely walk and I was able to find lots of cute little flowers. But one thing that I noticed, and this is a spring thing, so we're still in spring, is the amount of insects. And there is just a huge buzz in the air at the moment on those really warm days. I'm assuming it's a combination of bees, flies, mosquitoes, just this zzz that just goes across all of the other noises. It's quite overwhelming actually. During summer it'll switch into being cicadas and those other kinds of insects, and there'll be that weird quiet when everything is really hot. But right now it's just alive with buzzing and activity. At the start of this week we had another huge downpour, enough to have a lot of standing water in the paddocks for our creek to reach the top of its banks, and we kind of didn't really realise honestly how wet it was. We drove around our boundary just to check everything out, and we came down the side of a hill that doesn't get a lot of sun. It tends to be a spot that gets and stays quite damp all the time, and going down there was really slippery. And then when we got to the bottom, there's a curve that we kind of take that has standing water in it a lot of the time, and we got bogged. That's just how wet it was, and we haven't the whole of winter. A tree had fallen and the roots had kind of pulled out at the side of the path, so there was an extra ditch in there that was holding water, and we just slid and then just couldn't get our grip back again. So we tried forwards, we tried backwards. We ended up putting a lot of logs and branches into some of those holes to try and block them up and to get grip with the tires. Finally we were able to get back, but then we were kind of stuck between that place where we just got bogged and the slippery hill. So we had to find another way to get back to the house. Thank goodness we're at the bit that was very close to the road, and it's the one section of the property that we haven't done new fencing on yet. So luckily we were able to find a spot where there was no fence and reasonably clear, and we're able to really carefully drop down from there and out and onto the road and then drive back around. So now we're going to have to fix our track that goes around the property. We're not going to be able to use that section anymore. It's just too washed out, and the damage from where the trees come out has left quite a big hole that we can't really fill. So what we're thinking we will do is sort of move our track up the hill a little bit. There are some fallen trees through that area and some blackberry, so if we cut the blackberry out and cut the trees and then move the logs down into the current hole, we can sort of regenerate that path that we used to use and create a new one a bit higher up that hopefully won't get as wet and won't be as worn out, and we will be able to have a track that goes all the way around the farm again. We also dug a hole this week, well, a trench. The pool pump had broken, so we got a new pool pump, and at the same time we got a heating system for the pool as well. So getting all of that, we obviously then needed to have more power running to it so that it was able to all plug in and function as it should. So we arranged for the electrician to come and he did all of the wiring, but we helped him by digging a deep enough trench so that we could put the cables under the ground to go from the pool to the meter box. So that was a fun little afternoon exercise. It was very wet. There was a lot of clay in that area, so it was kind of really mucky and squelchy and everything like that. But we got it done reasonably quickly, and the cables are now laid and it's filled back up again. And in a very short amount of time, we should have a warm pool. So maybe I will go swimming more than I have done the last sort of few years. I'm not a big fan of cold water, so maybe the nice warm pool water will get me out a little bit more. Again, I haven't done a ton of knitting this week. I did up another sample square. This is fuchsia, which I'm surprised I hadn't done a square of before. I've knit many things with it, beanies and socks, but for some reason I did not have one of my sample squares done. So I've done one of those, and the scraps left over from that will go into my crochet blanket. But that was the only knitting that I did for the whole week. I've still been really working on the granny stripe blanket, the one with all of my hand-dyed yarns in it. So I have it here to show where I'm up to. And I'm keeping track of all of the colours that I'm using on my Ravelry page so that you can see what the coloured yarns are on each stripe. So it's chockberry, flowering gum, millions of tiny pieces but with some other white yarns in there. This one is Jewel C, and that one is snozberries and also some sugar plums, and then I've got By Candlelight at the top. I'm really loving working on this, and the colours are just coming out so great. And the brown in between is just that really nice neutral that's making my colours pop out. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.